Hello everybody, old programmers. This is my channel and I wanted to show you a spreadsheet that I've been doing since 2012, and in 2012 I went back to 2008 and then I've been updating it every year. I've been putting estimates in of the future based on what Eskom and the government have been telling us, and I've been updating it every year. And then also, I've got inflation rates and things in here. I thought of showing you all the numbers first, but let me rather show you where we got to in the graph, and then I will show you the numbers. So let's just look at each of these lines, starting at the bottom. This purple line is Eskom's kilowatt hour selling price. So all these numbers are kilowatt hour costs. We started off at about 25 cents, and we've gone to about 2.20 now, as at the 1st of April when Eskom put their prices up, and then 2.42 is estimated next year. At that time, when it was about 25 cents a kilowatt hour, we were paying about 35 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity, and that price has increased by the red line to 4.33 at the moment, and then 4.88 in 2025 and 5.37 predicted next year. This purple line, this light purple line, if you like, is the line that shows you what we started at and where we should be according to NERSA's approved price increases for the city of Cape Town. So that is 4.20, and this difference between 4.20 in 2025 and 4.88 is because the city of Cape Town is putting up prices for people that are actually paying for electricity a lot quicker than for the general public, because a lot of people aren't paying for electricity, so-called indigent people. This dotted green line is inflation only, and I update it every year, and every few years they restate the inflation. So then I restate the inflation, and we can see we're under 2 rand a kilowatt hour for inflation only adjustments, and we would expect some inflationary increases, but we wouldn't expect that the cost would be around about somewhere over here at about 1 rand 80. We'll see what it is on the numbers compared to 5 rand 37. That's a really big difference of pricing, and you can see how much pricing has increased from about 35 or whatever cents per kilowatt hour here up to 4.88 here and 5.37 there. So this orange line is the cost including batteries. This green line is where I started. I didn't have this orange line at the beginning, so the graph ended at 8 rand a kilowatt hour. We started at 6 rand 67 when I put my first PV system in. So grid type PV without batteries, that's what it cost. Came down to 2.40 quickly in 2 years. And this was because the reason that the graph has got sharp lines and shallow lines is because of massive new production increases coming on stream. So when you see the graph going down sort of flat, then that's when we're catching up with the new production, and then the graph goes down fast, and that's because of big production increases. So that's the kilowatt hour. We've gone from 6 rand 67 a kilowatt hour down to 53 cents a kilowatt hour. So if you work that out, let's just get out our calculator, and we say 6 rand 67. We could do this in the spreadsheet, but I'm just going to do it in the calculator. Minus 0.53 is 6 rand 14 divided by 6.67. And that price has come down 92%. So there's been a price decrease of 92% in grid tie PV. Grid tie PV, photovoltaic panels, grid tie, where we're importing and exporting to the grid without batteries and so on. But this is the cost of buying. So it's not, it's meant to be net metering, but it's not really net metering. I'll talk about that as well. It says here NEM is net metering, and one buys and sells at the same price. This was the model government proposed in 2000 but never implemented. So grid type EV without batteries, assuming that you could buy and sell, that's what the cost should be. This price here is the orange line, and I put my first system in with batteries in 2008 when it was 15 rand a kilowatt hour, and then I put my next system in 2020. I replaced the system at 4.24. So you can see that the price came down. I estimated in general about 12 times. So I put 12 times as much capability in for about 1/12 of the price. And So that's approximating, but this curve is because I knew the price in 2020 and I knew the price in 2008, and then I just extrapolated this line at 90. It works out at about 90% each year, so 10% decrease in price to 2022, and then this increase here. You can see the price increased for grid tie and for with batteries in 2023, and that was because of massive load shedding. Our battery system, huge increase in pricing due to high load shedding and exceptional demand. So what I've been saying to people who phone me and say, "Hi, David, what should we be doing?" I say, well, when we have load shedding, we sell to new people, and when we don't have load shedding, we sell to existing people. And I say we are, I'm not including myself because I'm not in the selling game. I was in 2023 for a year just to see what it was like, and it was the best year and the worst year. And I should make a video about that because I've been talking to people about it, but I really need to tell people what happened. City of Cape Town, when did we get to grid parity with net metering? That happened in 2012. We got to God parity in 2018. So you can see in 2012, over here, we hit the line where the cost of making electricity ourselves, assuming we had net metering, which we didn't have, was the same price as buying from the City of Cape Town. So if the City of Cape Town allowed us to do net metering, we would have had grid parity in 2012. That's where the price of manufacturing is equal to the buying cost. And then God parity in 2018 is where the cost of electricity here is less than Eskom's manufacturing cost. So God parity is where it costs us as homeowners using grid tie without batteries, using net metering, buying and selling at the same. So we sell our excess production during the day, we buy it back at night, and then we hit God parity then. But the important thing is that Eskom and the cities don't want to use net metering because they say that people are using demand at very high prices when, with time of use tariffs, the highest prices are between 7 and 10 in the morning and 6 and 8 in the evening. And then that's called peak time. Then there's standard time, and the off-peak time is from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So it could be that the price using time of use tariffs is only 50 cents a kilowatt hour at off-peak time, and maybe 1 rand a kilowatt hour at standard time, and maybe 5 rand a kilowatt hour at peak time. And it changes in summer and winter, winters, June, July, August, when the prices are much higher. And so big users that are using time of use tariffs try to do exceptionally heavy intensive work in summer and not in winter when the prices are high. And they try to move production around. And I've been asking the cities in Eskom to allow homeowners to sell to the grid at peak time. And those homeowners with battery systems can actually sell to the grid at peak time and buy from the grid at off-peak time. Now, that will change as people put more and more batteries in the peak and off-peak time, but we don't need any notice. We can have systems which have instant load reduction, load shedding. We can disconnect from the grid. We can stay on the grid with load reduction, where we can say, the Eskom can say, okay, we're reducing your peak demand from 60 amps to 20 amps, and then automatically we can shut off our pool pumps, our geysers, our air conditioning heaters, etc., and interact with the grid. That's all possible today. If you want to know how to do that, talk to me. So when can we make electricity cheaper? We can buy it, cost per kilowatt hour for homeowners using, and I use 1,200 kilowatt hours as a standard because and it says forecast in 2026. It's July 20 actuals to 2025, forecast 2026. Eskom's year is July to June, and Eskom put up their prices in April. So this Eskom price here is in April, and the City of Cape Town puts their prices up in July. So there's different years and different price increases. Eskom have just put their prices up. They say by 12%, but in some cases it's 88% because Eskom are now saying that people that are putting PV in are taking away from the grid. But the fact of the matter is people are putting PV in are allowing the grid to operate. And if people hadn't put 6 gigawatts of private capacity in and maybe 8 or 10 gigawatts of inverters and taken that off the grid, as in my previous video, please watch it. I'll put a link in the description to that video, and you can watch that and you can see, what's going on with Eskom pricing and so on. So let's just go and look at the numbers behind the spreadsheet, which is at the top here. I've made the spreadsheet a bit bigger. I can make it even bigger because I noticed the last one I made was a bit small. So yeah, we've got Homeowners should pay inflation only. So in 2007, the price was 52 cents a kilowatt hour. 2008, it went up by 25%. And then, but it, so homeowners should pay inflation only. This number here, 6.18, 10.07, 7.22, 4.09, these are the actual government's inflation figures, which I recaptured in 2024, 2025, going back to the beginning, because a lot of these numbers got restated. So I've changed my numbers. So some of these were higher, some of them are lower. But if you look at row 12, Eskom homeowners should pay inflation only, 52 cents, increasing to 131 in 2024. So that's homeowners should pay. Okay. Then you've got homeowners should pay with Eskom charge only, is this number. In other words, with the NERSA increase. So 52 cents increasing to 384. Then you've got City of Cape Town, kilowatt hour cost of buying, including VAT. All the numbers on the spreadsheet include VAT because, most homeowners can't claim VAT. Business owners, in many cases, can, but homeowners can't claim VAT. And also when it was 14%, I had added 14%. When it increased to 15%, I had added 15%. And now it's going to go up to 15.5%. Maybe we'll know tomorrow if it goes up or not, because it's got to be ratified by Parliament. But the kilowatt hour cost of buying is this. You can see here, we've got D11 divided by C11 minus 1. So that is 65 cents divided by 50. So I took the actuals, okay, and then subtracting 1 gives me, and then changing it to a number gives me the actual inflationary increase. So I didn't take the inflationary increase. I said, okay, what's the real cost of buying 1,200 kilowatt hours using the rate tables? And the rate tables, let me know if you want me to show you what the rate tables look like. But basically, there's a fixed cost. When I bought my house 30 years ago, approximately, there was no fixed cost. There was only a variable cost. Then over time, they included a fixed cost. I can tell you why they did that. And then there were reasons that they told us about, and then reasons they didn't tell us about. And then there's a variable cost as well. And there's also a tiered structure. So up to 600 kilowatt hours a month, you pay one price, and over 600 kilowatt hours, you pay another price. And then at some point in the 2000s, there was the possibility that if you used under 600 kilowatt hours a month, you paid a very low kilowatt hour charge. And we had that for a while. But then they decided everybody who has a house worth more than 1 million rand, they must pay the tariff that everybody pays, even if they use less electricity. And so that's a reverse incentive. So as you use less, you pay more per kilowatt hour. Until you've used nothing, you pay infinity per kilowatt hour because you pay the service fee. So taking account of 25% increase, 35% increase, 23% increase, etc., you end up with going from 52 cents a kilowatt hour all the way up to 2025, 488 a kilowatt hour. So you can see where we should be from an inflation point of view, where we should be from just a NERSA increase point of view, and where we are from a City of Cape Town homeowner point of view. PV, kilowatt hour cost of manufacturing. These are actuals. I've calculated these actuals every year from 7.60 rand, and then you can see, the grid tie capital cost per kilowatt hour at the bottom, 8,000, which is 8 kilowatts, times D17 divided by 100 divided by 1,200, and that gives me this number. So 8,000 is the kilowatt hour of kilowatts of or watts rather, 8 kilowatts of the inverter, and then I'm multiplying by D17, which is 100 rand, and then I'm dividing by 100, and I'm dividing by 1,200. So 1,200 is 1,200 kilowatt hours, and 100 is to get cents to rand. So I think that's what I'm doing. Don't ask me. I only wrote this. But old programmers don't necessarily remember everything they do. So then you've got, I knew the price in 2008 here in bold. All the bold prices are actuals. And then, so I had 15, and I plugged in the price in 2020. And then I worked out what this ratio here should be in E9. And then I said, okay, multiply 15 times, sorry, E6, not E9. It's 0.9, but it's in cell E6. So you can see here's 0.9, and this is cell E6. or you can see here E6 if you're not used to using spreadsheets. A spreadsheet is like in old days, if you did accounting before computers, then we had these huge workbooks where we did lots of columns, columnar banking, columnar cash books, columnar accounting, where we had a column for each different expense and so on. So this is basically a spreadsheet is a computer simulation of that, and obviously it allows you to put calculations in. And if I go and change this number to 16, then you see all these numbers here change. Let me just Control Z that, put it back to what it was. I don't want to change things on here. Then you've got Eskom's kilowatt hour selling price. You've got grid tie capital cost per kilowatt hour. You can see how it's changed over time. And then you've got this Eskom wanted, what they got. So that's also doing that. Eskom's actual household selling price. So Eskom sells to households different to the price that the city sells to. NERSA approved increases compared to actual price increases. Annual decrease percentages. Doing those kinds of calculations. So grid tie, how much did that decrease by from 120 to 100? And then you've got from 100 to 70. So you've got 16% decrease, 30% decrease. Annual decrease since. So how much is the total decrease from 2007, and it goes down to here 84% already. So you can see how much it's gone. I should extend that and finish it. And then I've just been finishing these numbers. I only had them from 2013 to 2018, but I've just tried to update them all, which is how many gigawatt hours of load shedding did Eskom do every year from 2007? What was the worst stage of load shedding, and what was their availability factor? So you can see we started off in the before Zuma year of 87.5, and then Zuma came in, and after Zuma everything deteriorated. So we went from 85%. A world standard is 92%. 87.5 is really good for energy availability factor. I've called it Eskom availability factor, but it's actually energy or electricity availability factor. And it's a formula, but you can go and search for it and it'll tell you. So, we had the worst in 2022, 58, the worst, actually even worse in 2023, 54. That's when we went up to stage 8 load shedding, and we're 25,000 gigawatt hours of load shedding. So here we have like no load shedding. And then from 2009 to 2013, everybody said, wow, it's fantastic. Eskom are doing a great job. There's no load shedding. But look how even during that time, the availability factor went from 85 to 76. So what was happening is Eskom were basically telling customers to go elsewhere. And that's what the government has done. We've closed the textile industry. We've almost closed the mining industry. The railway industry is almost closed. There's so many industries because we blame China, we blame Korea, but maybe China is to blame for 50%. The other 50% is our own case, because if we had consistent electricity and we had consistent water, it was at good prices, we wouldn't have load shedding. We'd have another 10 million jobs. I'm going to make another spreadsheet where I'll show you how delivering the power stations latest cost the economy 50 trillion rand. 50 trillion, that's 50 billion rand plus VAT. And I'm going to show you that in a different spreadsheet and a different graph after this one. But this is just showing you how we've gone. We had a better time in 2024, and the Andre de Ruyter was in power as the CEO in 2023, and that's when we had the most load shedding. And of course, everybody's blaming him. But actually, in my opinion, and on the bookshelf behind me, I don't know if you can see, but I've got Andre de Ruyter's book, which I read the day it was released. I was like queuing like a Harry Potter fanatic, queuing on the day of the release of the book at Exclusive Books, and I was there 8 o'clock in the morning when they opened. I was in the queue and I bought the book and I read it in 2 days, and I kind of binge read it. And there was so much information in there, and one could see why he was poisoned, and cyanide poisoning in his coffee cup. Only 3 people had access to his coffee cup. One of those 3 people is guilty, and whoever was behind that is guilty. But the reason he was poisoned is because he was finding the corruption. And it's like what's happening with Trump and Musk and others in the American government now. They're searching for corruption, and therefore the people that are corrupt are doing everything they can to say, oh, no, we shouldn't be doing this. But, if Elon Musk can start off with 100 billion rand and then leave after 3 months and leave that capability transferred to 12 people or whatever it is in the team, that can get rid of potentially $1 trillion, $1 trillion of American corruption, 15% of American GDP, then that's just fantastic. Well, maybe it's American government spending, 15%. I'm not sure. You'd have to look at that. But I know there's a 15% number, and that's what I think it's American government spending. And that's what, if $1 trillion, it's just mind blowing. And when you get rid of corruption, a lot of people are going to get upset. A lot of people are going to try and kill you. So, when you have so much corruption that you're only making half the electricity you should be making, then you have a problem. But let's go back to the spreadsheet. You can see what the spreadsheet's doing. You've got the kilowatt hour cost of buying. If you want the spreadsheet, please let me know. I'm happy to send it. I've made it a Creative Commons license, which says this work is licensed under Creative Commons CC by 4.0 rules. And some of you may share as long as you refer to me. David Lipschitz is the author of this work. Copyright 2012. That's when I did it the first time. 16th Feb 25. Last updated. July 25 actuals. July 26 projections. And then I've talked about the IRP, home user charge. There's some other numbers on the right-hand side here. You can mess around with all the things I've been messing around with. There's all kinds of other things, grid parity calcs. What's happening with grid parity, Eskom long-term stats, Eskom rates. Then I did a graph for the Fracked movie. My brother made a movie called Fracked, and I made this graph, which they showed in the movie. And then this is an inflation curve. This might be out of date because, like I say, I keep updating the data in the main tab sheet. And there's all kinds of other numbers which you're welcome to look at. But this graph is on the internet. I haven't gone into the numbers in the graph like I'm doing in this spreadsheet, but now that I've changed my channel name to Old Programmers, I think I should show you what kind of things programmers like getting up to. I'm a database engineer, so I like working with numbers. I like looking at trends. I like understanding what's going on. And let's see where this goes. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please share. Please comment. And let me know what else you need from me. Thanks. Good night. Goodbye.